For the third straight series, a National League Central opponent has come calling to the Coliseum, and so far the A's have shown no hospitality to any of them. Playing the A's brand of baseball that led them to a division title in 2012, the Green and Gold's never say die attitude has continued here in 2013. Having regained first place last night, the A's will hand the ball over to Bartolo Colon tonight. Colon has won 8 straight starts, and he looks to grab a roster spot at the All-Star game coming up in the Big Apple. It's Game 2, A's-Cubs, next. It is another warm night at the O.K Coliseum, and we're expecting a near sellout crowd tonight. Great pitching matchup. Matt Garza for the Chicago Cubs and all-star hopeful Bartolo Colon for the Oakland A's. A's won last night 8-7. They'll try to make it 2 in a row tonight. Game 2 of the 3-game series. It's the A's and the Cubs coming up on Comcast Sportsnet, California. Hi again, everybody. Welcome to Oakland A's Baseball along with Ray Fosse. I'm Glenn Kuiper. So indeed, it is Bartolo Colon. Ray, he has won 8 consecutive starts. That's almost unheard of. Very difficult to do. And his last one, he beat a very good Cardinals team.
You know, the thing we're figuring out, he's smart. He knows how to pitch. And I think that's the best thing about Bartolo Colon. He's 40. Sure, he's pitched a long time, but he knows how, when he gets the baseball, depending on who's hitting, what he's going to do. Whether he's going to turn the ball over to Yadier Molina, throw him that backdoor 2-seam fastball, but he'll change speeds. He gets you thinking about a fastball. You throw a slider. I don't think there's anybody better than Bartolo Colon when he takes the mound. And oh, by the way, if he needs an extra 93, 94 fastball, he'll do that as well. But he is a very intelligent pitcher.
Well, Matt Garza has trade rumors swirling all around him, and more than likely somebody is going to trade for this guy, and they're going to get a very good pitcher.
I think the biggest thing for him, he got healthy. He had an injury in spring training. He has not made a lot of starts, but he is a veteran. He's the veteran type of pitcher that other clubs are looking for. He has an assortment of pitches, 96-mile-an-hour fastball. He'll also throw the 2-seam fastball, curve, slider, and changeup. But I think just the fact that he's a veteran, he knows how to pitch. He's been in the American League, he's now in the National League, and I think that combination with him taking the mound for some ball club, he's probably going to help.
So the A's used some late-inning magic to get the win. Last night they're playing great baseball again. A's have won 5 out of their last 6. We'll have lineups at first pitch when we come back to the O.K Coliseum. Very hot night, and it's going to be a good ball game. A's and Cubs.
Sportsnet California is brought to you by Jack in the Box. Go big at a Jack in the Box near you with Jack's new Big Stack Burger.
Well, the A's and Bartolo Colon take the field for Game 2 of this 3-game series between the Athletics and the Cubs. Here's the game time weather presented by the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. Get to the beach. The admission-free boardwalk is now open daily. Another warm night. Beautiful 77 degrees. Nice breeze. So the hot weather continues to stick around the Bay Area. All right, let's look at the Chicago Cubs starting lineup. Luis Valbuena is in the leadoff spot. Then Castro, Scherholz, Soriano. Soriano's going to DH. Followed by Rizzo, Navarro, Bogusevic, Barney, and Julio Bourbon is in center field.
And it is Bartolo Colon on the mound for the Athletics. And yes, he has won his last 8 starts. So Bartolo would like to continue that tonight. He's already ready to go. They're probably going to have to wait just a second for that clock to turn. But he does not need a lot of warm-up tosses. But he is a very good pitcher, as we have seen.
So the umpires holding it up, waiting for the proper time. But you're right,
But they also want to get the stuff off the bullpen mound. That's what Larry Vanover, I think, is telling.
It's like a ball bag.
Yeah, the Matt Garza just left a whole bunch of stuff down there before he came in. So you got to get that out of the way because the mound is in play.
Larry Vanover will call balls and strikes. Brian Gorman is the crew chief, and Colon kicks. The first pitch of the game is a strike to Valbuena.
First pitch, 7-0-7.
Valbuena, Castro, and Scherholz here in the top of the first inning. We'll spend a lot of time talking about Bartolo Colon and the sensational stretch he is on. Swinging and a miss, 1-2.
And with all the off days, Kipe, and starting pitchers get a little bit extra time, although more of a 4-man rotation, but I think now until the All-Star break, which comes up in less than 2 weeks, pitchers will be on a regular 5-man term.
Moss quickly to Colon, and Bartolo hustling over there beats Valbuena, and that's out number 1. Rest of the A's defense: Cespedes, Crisp, and Reddick in the outfield. Donaldson, Lowry, Sogard. You just saw Moss. Jaso is back in there, so that's good to see. John Jaso back behind the plate.
And it's also good to see Josh Donaldson get the baseball, stand at the mound, let Bartolo Colon get a chance to recover, if you will. Nice play by Brandon Moss, leading Bartolo Colon to the mound, or to first base. He did not bother that his cap left his head, caught the ball, made the put out. A little smile. He said, I've never run that far in my life. But Josh Donaldson, a former catcher, standing there because you always like to see a pitcher get a little bit of extra time when he runs to first base.
There's the terrific stretch. 8-0 in his last 8 starts. He has not lost since the 9th of May.
Last pitch a little bit elevated, something he does not like to do. That's what got him in trouble on May the 9th in Cleveland when pitches were up too high. Gave up a couple of home runs to Swisher and Kipnis in that game.
2-1 to Castro, excuse me.
No, they were just high fastballs, and that last pitch, a good 2-seam fastball. Looks like Larry Vanover's strike zone is a little bit up, as the 1 strike was called, a little bit above the belt.
That one bounced over the mound, and it's a diving play by Sogard, but Castro's going to be aboard with a hit. No chance for Sogard to have any play on Castro.
Right over the mound and hit hard in front of home plate. Otherwise, Bartolo Colon really fields his position nicely. And Sogard, the dive, but with the speed of Castro, he's not going to throw him out. But, as you always say, you look up, maybe the guy fell down getting out of the batter's box, so you make a great effort, realize that he's already at first base, and throw it back to the pitcher.
Exmo brought to you by Cache Creek Casino Resort. Here's Scherholz. Good sinking fastball in for a strike. 11 home runs, 34 RBIs for Scherholz. He was the final out of the game last night as Balfour got Scherholz to ground out after the strike him out, throw him out double play. And it's 0-2.
Yeah, with Larry Vanover's strike call, you have to really be patient and wait. He takes a long time. The veteran Vanover. Just hope when he stands up like he does and makes the strike call that he doesn't just stand up and look.
Scherholz takes high. Soriano in the on-deck circle. Cologne looking for career win number 183. He's 182 and 124. Well, you're that far over 500. That's pretty good.
Well, and that close to 200, that means he's going to be around beyond this year. I don't think he'll get 17 more wins this year. Who knows?
A little flare behind third. Donaldson gets back there. He's got it.
A big play in the game last night in the 9th inning. Derek Norris with Balfour and a strike 3. And then a throw to second base. Sogard making a nice play at second. The pump of the fist by Derek Norris. And actually there was interference by the batter. But he followed through, got the call anyway with a great throw. 3-run home run, and they struck him out, throw him out. And what a night for Derek Norris.
And he's a good interview.
Yeah, he is.
So you may say, well, what the heck makes a good interview? He's very soft-spoken, but he tells you something.
Yeah, there's some
interesting stuff.
Yeah.
We talked about facing that left-hander last night. He kind of walked us through his thought process. It was very interesting.
Well, remember when I mentioned about the perfect throw to second base, and he said, well, I don't know about perfect. Sogard made a play. And I saw him after the game, and I said, you know, one thing to remember as a catcher, your job is to get there as quickly as possible, and it's up to the second baseman or shortstop to make the play. And he says, yeah, I know that. I said, well, why didn't you say it? But no, he's not going to. He's going to give credit to Sogard. But bottom line, he got rid of it quickly. He got it down there so Sogard could make the play he made to get the out at second base.
0-2 to Alfonso Soriano. And that one kicks away from Jaso, and Castro's going to go down to second. The ball was down and away. In the dirt, should be a wild pitch.
That's a hard slider after the fastballs. See a ball that's that close to the catcher's mitt, and it's been a while, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. 4 years.
40 straight starts. Got it. Ball pitch for the A's.
Fastball just missed, not by much. So 2-2.
They try to bring it back, and the two seam, and of course that's the one we showed in our open. It did not quite get to the plate, unlike what Yadier Molina experienced on the weekend.
So Cologne's ready, takes a look at Castro at second. And that one's looped into left center field. That's going to be a hit, and the Cubs are going to take the lead. So Soriano, pitch was out away from him, but Ray talked about that. He's a very big bat, and he will dive out there a little bit and cover that pitch, and he just did.
Well, it was another breaking pitch in the outside part of the plate, and he just took the long bat, reached out, and just served. He's very strong. He has the leg kick, and of course, you make a mistake. This one towards the end of the bat, but good hitters will sacrifice the long ball to get the base hit to drive in the run. Soriano has done that throughout his career, although he has hit a lot of home runs.
So here's Rizzo, RBI number 39 for Soriano. And Rizzo swings at the first pitch. Donaldson may have a play, and he will. Side retired. A run on 2 hits for the Cubs. Bottom of the first. Coming up 1-0 Chicago. Lineup for tonight, and here it is. Chris Smith, Lowry, Cespedes, Moss, Donaldson, Jaso, Reddick, and Sogards. Seth Smith will be the DH tonight.
And Matt Garza, when July the 3rd, you figured he'd have a lot more starts, making just his 9th. He had a lat sprain. He sustained during spring training down in Arizona, so he was on the disabled list, and that's a result, making just his 9th start, but he got well just in time. Trading deadline coming up July 31st. Good pitcher, as the A's saw him last when he was with the Tampa Bay Rays.
Here's the Cubs defense behind Garza. Bogusevic, Bourbon, Scherholz in the outfield. Valbuena, Castro, Barney, Rizzo on the infield, and Deanna Navarro, who was the DH last night, is behind the plate tonight.
Well, they caught him in Tampa, huh? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good call. You're right.
He had a no-hitter for Tampa as well.
He did have a no-hitter back in 2010. So Matt Garza against Bartolo Colon. We like the matchup.
He's got a nice resume, you know. Although he's probably not going to be on a world champion, and not at least with the Cubs this year, because of where they're in the standings and the tough division they're in. But when the Cubs do win a world championships, Chicago area, they'll celebrate. And somebody besides the Bulls will win a championship.
And the Blackhawks.
And the Blackhawks, that's right. Blackhawks. White Sox in 05, so just the Cubbies.
So Coco Chris steps in 274 with 9 home runs. Followed by Smith and Lowry against Garza. Garza's first pitch of the game is a fastball up and away. That injury that Garza had, it was early spring training. How about February 17th? That's about 3 days after spring training started. So you get hurt that early, and then you don't make your first start till the middle of May. From Selma, California, and went to Fresno State. And one of the reasons he's attractive trade chip is, A, he's good. He's only 29 years old. So he's going to have some good years left in him. And Garza pitching very well as of late in his last 3 starts. Just a couple of earned runs allowed.
And you talked about the injury right after spring training started. Had it not been for the WBC, maybe spring training would not have started.
That's true.
A very long spring in 2013.
Close pitch, 3-1. We'll never know the effects of the WBC, but I think some people feel that it's not great for the pitchers who have to get ready earlier, and maybe they're not ready to pitch high stress innings.
I wonder also about Mark Teixeira.
Yeah, oh, that's right. I never know.
He is finished for the year.
So 3-2. Coco lost in the right field. Scherholz is under it, and he makes the catch.
(2010). Pretty good against the Tigers. Zobrist is still there. Longoria. Bartlett's not. 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, 120 pitches. Pretty good. 220 pitches, nothing. Especially if you've got a no-hitter working.
So Garza was there when the Rays turned it around in 2008, and then you just saw him in 2010. So he had some fun.
Kind of one extreme to the other, from the heat and humidity of Florida, St. Petersburg, to Chicago, where it can be very cold and windy.
Line drive. Barney can't get it, and Seth Smith has a base hit. That's the first hit for the A's.
You know, Cap, last night, Dale Swain, the manager of the Cubs, did not make a move late, and maybe because, as Brandon Moss said, not so much Moss, but because of this guy, Seth Smith, standing or sitting on the bench with a bat in his hand, ready to hit if a righty had come in, instead of Russell staying in the game. So Seth Smith continues to swing the bat well, being used as a DH a lot, with Cespedes, Crisp, and Reddick getting the majority of the playing time in the outfield. But he is handling and adapting very well after being a very good pinch hitter in the National League, second year in the American League with the A's, and DH suits him well.
1-0 to Lowry, hitting in the third spot. 305 with 5 homers, 34 RBIs. Let's go Oakland chant early tonight. Big crowd on hand. And that one's ripped to right field. Scherholz going back, and he fights the sun a little bit and makes a very nice catch. Scherholz got a good jump. And that was not an easy play, because that's what he's looking up into.
Well, I think just as important the fact that everybody's in the shade with the exception of right field, and he is wearing sunglasses, unlike last night with Josh Reddick we saw, who did not use his sunglasses. But it's a matter of whether you can pick up the ball, leaving the bat in the shade into the sun. And Jed Lowry, maybe too much topspin, ended up in the glove. Nice play by Scherholz. But that is a tough sun.
So here's Cespedes. Swing and a miss. Well, Scherholz may know about that. He may have sat out though in the right field bleachers when he was a kid. Right. He may have been sitting out there going, "Boy, that sun is tough. I can hardly see." Now he's playing out there.
And last night got to experience the Balfour rage when Balfour came in the 9th inning. Maybe he would have been sitting out there during that time.
Right on the outside corner, and it's a quick 0-2 to Cespedes, hitting .227 with 15 home runs.
We've seen Cespedes hit quite a few balls to the right side for hits in this homestand. They continue to pitch him outside. They would, I think, prefer to give him the single. Than
chop toward Castro. He'll flip to Barney side. Retired. A hit and a runner left. So we're done with one inning from the Coliseum. It's the Cubs 1 and the A's nothing.
from MLB.com. Available on iPhone and iPad. Download free today. Those people, you can see how many people. Just Tommy Edson just took those cameras around the stands and see how many people are on their phones. Maybe they're getting a free app.
Probably. It doesn't take long now. First pitch to Deoner Navarro is high. 280 with 8 home runs, 18 RBIs for Navarro. Good night last night. 3 hits, a couple singles, a double. He scored a run. Navarro is a switch hitter. Bogusevic and Barney to follow here in the second inning. Well, as always, we are keeping a close eye on the Rangers.
What are they doing?
Mariners 2, Rangers 2, 8th inning in Arlington. So Seattle helped the A's out last night. Trying to do it again tonight.
King Felix still pitching?
It was Hernandez and Holland, the 2 starting pitchers.
BI's checking.
We'll let you know as soon as BI finds out.
King Felix got a whole bunch of runs in Anaheim. It didn't work out before he came into Seattle when the A's were there. He did not pitch against the A's. A lot of runs scored by the Mariners last night.
Driven to center. Crisp is there. He's got it. And West standings, the A's on top by half a game. Angels are making their move. They've won 7 in a row. They're 3 games away from the 500 mark, and now just 8.5 back. And I say just. They were 11-12 back. So, Angels will host the Cardinals again tonight. Jerome Williams and Shelby Miller. In fact, they are underway. It's no score in the second inning in Anaheim.
Remember, the Angels had that nice stretch where they won a lot of games, then they fell back. Yeah. And so for them to sustain it, which they are capable of doing, especially getting Jared Weaver back. You see the Angels right after the All-Star break. 3-game series in Anaheim.
Bogusevic, a couple of hits and a couple of runs scored last night. Well, one of the big stories coming out of Major League Baseball today was Manny Ramirez. Right. Signed a minor league contract with the Texas Rangers. How about that?
And the understanding that he's going to cut his dreadlocks to accommodate the rules of the minor leagues of the Rangers.
Well, he'll play down there for a while, and Rangers are saying, hey, we're going to look. See what he's got.
I think Manny just wants to get a chance. He wanted the chance with the A's. Didn't happen.
Bogusevic right up the middle for another hit.
And I think he's willing to do anything. Is he willing to cut his hair? Then he's willing to do anything. Maybe he watched Coco Crisp.
That's right.
And decided he would cut the locks to be able to sign with the Rangers. Two-seam fastball did not quite get out far enough, or at least did not start inside far enough, but pretty good pitch to hit by the lefty, taking it right back up the middle.
So here's Darwin Barney, sac fly last night. Now, Manny Ramirez is 41 years old, and he's got 555 career home runs. It's all about bat speed. If he still has it, he could probably still hit some.
I always thought, and we saw Soriano do it in the first inning, that Manny Ramirez has hit all those home runs, but to me, one of the best RBI hitters, just because, like Soriano, forget about trying to hit a home run. You're trying to drive in a run, and probably the RBI stat most impressive. You know, people can look at different things about the offensive statistics, but if you're able to drive in runs and you're willing to not try to hit home runs, change your swing to take what is given to you to drive in a run, it's pretty impressive. You've got to hit home runs. You're going to hit mistakes for home runs.
Little flare, right field, but foul. So 1-1 the count to Darwin Barney. He handles the bat pretty well, so could be an opportunity for the Cubs to do something. Bogusevic runs pretty well.
One gave the sign, one was confirming.
Bounced right to Sogard, out at second, and that's a double play. So Cologne gets the ground ball, 4-6-3, side retired. Sportsnet California is brought to you by Evergood Sausage Company. Beautiful night for baseball. Near sellout. Very close. Fireworks after the game.
And the 4th of July, of course, that is tomorrow, America's birthday, Independence Day, and fireworks. The A's will have a nice day game tomorrow and a getaway day, and on the 4th of July celebrate with the fireworks tonight following the game. So the flags are out. Uncle Sam's there too. I want you. He wanted me.
He got you for a little while. That's right. Did your time?
Yes, sir. Red, white, and blue. Or the Stars and Stripes, they're out. People cannot wait for the 4th of July to bring out the red, white, and blue. Is that a phone or a radio? What do you think? Phone.
Moss, Donaldson, and Jaso here in the bottom of the 2nd inning. 232 for Moss with 14 home runs, and he takes a strike on the outside corner from Garza. He's got a hit in the 1st. Single by Smith. And another good pitch by Garza, keeping it away from Moss. Okay, it's a radio.
It's a pretty big phone, though, if it's a phone. Used to be that big.
Fastball is high, but that's where Navarro wanted it on 0-2.
So a lot of scouts upstairs and around the park and see, what are you in town looking for? Everybody said a #1 starting pitcher. I said, wow, that's a shock.
So Moss strikes out. Well, Garza, maybe not a #1, but probably #2.
Yeah, he could fill in wherever is needed in a rotation. Scott Feldman is making his debut tonight for the Orioles. How's he doing tonight?
Orioles won. Feldman get the win. He got a no decision. But they were not worried about sticking Feldman out there. Get him out there.
Yeah.
But the Cubs, the 2 guys that they got in trades are in their bullpen. Matt Guerrier in the Carlos Marmol trade and Pedro Strop, who came in the Feldman trade. They are in the bullpen here. So it's a loaded bullpen full of right-handers for.
Well, Guerrier is a workhorse. He's the American League with the Twins. Craig Breslow is always every day, never say no Breslow when he's with the A's, and every time you look up, Guerrier had another appearance, so they were going neck to neck.
That's right.
Former Twins, both of them.
That's Matt Guerrier, the right-hander, getting to know his new teammates. He was with the Dodgers. As always this time of year, and actually a little bit earlier this year, it seems like a lot of trade rumors. It's the Feldman trade, the biggest so far.
Well, the non-waiver deadline is the 31st of July. But if a team feels that they're not going to possibly make the postseason with the second wild card, there are some clubs hanging on longer, but if they don't, might as well trade earlier. Teams that are looking for help obviously would like to get the players earlier in July than wait till later.
Yes, Lane, Cubs manager, 2nd year in Chicago.
Where, man?
Three and 2 to Donaldson, and a breaking ball, close. Called the ball. Garza wanted it.
Josh Donaldson's got a knack to hit home runs, which he did last night. How about this one? Just crushed a line drive, and then takes a 3-2 breaking pitch from Matt Garza. Say a lot about Josh Donaldson, but the one thing, he is a very intelligent hitter. He knows what pitchers are trying to do against him. You make a mistake, he'll crush it, but in the case of a 3-2 breaking ball, he'll take the walk.
First pitch to Jaso is in for a strike. Last time Jaso was in the lineup was June 23 at Seattle. Actually, that's the last time he played. He has not been in the starting lineup since June 20th. He flips that one toward left. Bogusevic just in fair territory grabs it, and that's out number 2. So Jaso's been out a while, maybe a little bit of a timing issue.
Just going to say that because normally he would be in the top of the batting order, second, which he's been primarily for the season, occasionally leading off. But Bob Miller knows that Chris Smith, Lowry, Cespedes, Boss in the top of the order, and so he's leaving it that way. And like you said, the timing, when you miss time, the hardest thing for, in the case of Jaso, he has to worry about his catching as well as his hitting, and both create the timing that is necessary. And miss some time, you're going to lose your time.
Well, you talk about 2-3 days can make a difference, and for Jaso, June 23 the last time he played, so that's 10 days.
Right. And not able to do a lot of things because of the abrasion on his hand.
It's his left hand pretty well wrapped. Reddick hitting .214, 3 home runs, 25 RBIs. 0 for 3 with a walk and a run scored last night. It was a big walk, and it was a big run scored. I guess technically we could say he scored the tying run.
Yes, he did.
But it was his walk against Russell, the left-hander, who got a very good slider. He's got one job, and that's to get left-handed hitters out, and he could not do it with Reddick. As Reddick laid off a 3-2 slider, and the rest is history.
And if Josh Reddick had been kind of where he was last year, hitting a lot of home runs, he might have pulled off on the sliders they got last night, but he's thinking more up the middle in the opposite field.
Rips that one foul.
And because of that, he was able to take the sliders and out of the strike zone. But this change up to Derek Norris on 2-2. Could say he put the barrel on it because he crushed it. Left center, just over the jagged edge. So couldn't believe it. That man could.
So 1-2 with Donaldson at first after the walk. Songaard would be next if Reddick can get aboard. Setting up inside, and maybe a little slider. Maybe a breaking ball that just didn't break a lot.
We have seen what Josh Reddick has done since returning from the disabled list and kind of forgetting about the stats prior to his DL time. I think he's also looking forward to the All-Star break, the traditional break in the second half. A lot of players, pitchers and position players alike. Some like it, some don't, because it's kind of, they do have the first half, second half stats. And if you struggle the first half, you can't wait for the second because it can't be any worse than the first. But I think what Josh Reddick has done since the return for the DL is a much different player. Those numbers have shown it.
Donaldson runs, and the pitch is popped up to shallow left. Bogusevic is under it. He's got it side retired. The base runner for the A's, nothing else. Third inning coming up. 1-0 Cubs. history record for consecutive starts with a win. Barry Zito 9 in 2005, Bob Welch 9 in 1990, and let's not forget about Rick Langford 9 in 1980. So Cologne can join that group if he can get a win tonight. Bunted by Bourbon, but right back to Cologne. Flips to first. 1 pitch, 1 out. So Bourbon is retired, and now to the top of the order in Valbuena.
I'm sure there are players that look at Bartolo Colon and say, hey, you know, he's a big guy. You know, maybe he doesn't feel his position. He's 40 years old. You know, he's a cat. He's quick as a cat on the mound, and he anticipates what hitters are thinking, what they're going to attempt to do. In the case of Bourbon bunting, he was ready to field it, handled it easily.
Valbuena grounded out to first, and he takes a strike in the inside corner. Pop-up foul, and Cologne jumps out ahead 0-2. Alfonso Soriano with an RBI single in the first inning for the only run so far in the game. Fastball, a bit outside, not by much. Castro will be next. With a packed house, it's a little more difficult to grab yourself a foul ball.
Always worried about a deflection.
Yeah.
The ball, well, somebody puts their hand up and deflects it, but looks like a nice play was made with that gentleman.
That one's hit to right. Reddick going back near the wall, and he leaps, and he missed it.
Oh,
I thought he got it. Valbuena with a home run, and it's 2-0 Chicago.
he thought he got it too.
Looked like his leap was perfectly timed.
He thought he'd gotten it because the way he slammed it, but this was a danger that after the first pitch was a strike in there, they tried to go back. It looked like he might have been thinking about the pitch, and Reddick did time it perfectly. And boy, it looked like that he had got it right there. It looked like right in his glove. What a great effort, man, just off to the side. He had to have felt it in his glove because he slammed his glove into the fence.
So home run number 7 for Valbuena.
Boy, you talk about a perfect leap. Oh,
it did.
Hit
right
his thumb of the glove. That's why he was upset. You know, you're kind of going up and putting the glove. You can't really watch the ball.
Yeah, you're guessing a little bit.
And just a couple of inches to the right, and it's in the webbing, and he robbed him of a home run. But that's using the warning track and the wall, everything to perfection. We see guys will let the wall stop them, but not Josh.
Watch his thumb side of the glove. Just grazed it. Well, you don't get a chance to make a play like that very often, and then you come that close. It's frustrating. So 1-2 to Castro, who singled and scored in the first inning.
With the at bat by Valbuena, the first pitch, a good two-seam fastball inside, and you know, hitters that think that, well, he did it once, is he going to do it again? Maybe similar to what Derek Norris did last time with the changeup. Also got him early with a changeup for a strike. Bartolo got Valbuena early with a fastball in. Two-seamer.
That's the 9th home run that Cologne has allowed this year. 109 innings. roll left side. And Donaldson throws, and they get Castro. So that's out number 2 here in the third.
Number 19.
And Scherholz will hit.
Scherholz.
Scherholz popped out to third in the first inning. And a good rip there, fouls it back.
That time only Franklin gets the other home run against Cologne in this 8-game winning streak. A 3-run home run in Seattle.
So just another thing he's done extremely well. You just don't see guys win 8 consecutive starts.
Unless your name's Max Scherzer.
Yeah.
Scherzer got some more run support at least early tonight.
He won.
Won again.
13-0. Tell you more about it later. Max Scherzer. There's the breakdown. 3-0 in April, 3-2 in May, and then 5-0 to get him the American League Pitcher of the Month award. Adam Wainwright won the National League Pitcher of the Month. Cespedes on the move. Cespedes can't get it, and he goes past him, and Scherholz is fast. And Cespedes is going to have to hustle. Scherholz to third, and he'll stop there. I think we've seen an inside the park home run from Nate Scherholz before.
Yeah, and the triples out in San Francisco, but this ball was slicing, and Cespedes did not get the good read on it initially. It hesitated, and then at that point his momentum carried him past the ball. But in the case of Scherholz, with his speed, you have to really hustle back. But the initial move towards the ball fooled him. And remember, in left field, a left-handed hitter will slice the ball towards the line. And the same to the right side, a right-hander to right field of the slice towards the line, but he missed it, didn't even come close, didn't have a chance to put his body in front of it to block it. Fortunately, there are 2 outs.
So here's Soriano. First pitch right down the middle to Soriano, and it's a strike. RBI single, his 39th RBI for Soriano in the first. Soriano's one of those guys you don't want to get him in a hot streak because he can get very hot.
If it gets hot, there'll be more clubs wanting him, and they just decline the trade again.
I was going to say he has to decide to go somewhere. That one's driven to center. Chris going back. He's near the wall. And he's got it right at the wall. So Valbuena with a solo home run, and the Cubs lead 2-0.
Good Tidings Foundation to refurbish 2 fields for the 2013 baseball and softball season. Stencil Field in San Leandro and Centennial Park in Hayward have been refurbished as part of the Energize Your Field program. To have your field refurbished, go online to oaklandathletics.com/energizeyourfield. That ball by Soriano was close, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. When he hits them, they got a certain crack to him. So 2-0 Cubs. It's the bottom of the third.
You know, when the Cubs are playing home, I'm sure they wake up in the morning in the Windy City, Chicago. They look at the flag. At Wrigley Field, whether it's blowing in, blowing out. Wake up in the morning and say, it's going to be a good day. Especially if somebody like Soriano, who hits the long fly balls. That one, as high as it was hit at Wrigley Field with the wind blowing in, definitely would knock it down.
So Sogard to lead it off, followed by Crisp and Smith. And Ray, in that game down in Anaheim, the St. Louis Cardinals scored 7 times in the second inning and knocked Jerome Williams out. So St. Louis 7, the Angels nothing, going to the bottom of the second inning. And they're going to extras in Arlington, 2-2, Rangers and the Mariners. So Cardinals doing some damage. Sogard lines one toward left. Bogusevic is back, and he's got it for out number 1.
You know, in Anaheim, this warm weather, I'm sure up and down the coast, and a warm night in Anaheim, ball will carry. We have seen it carrying here with the warmer weather.
So it's warm everywhere, but from what I understand, in the Phoenix area, it is like in the 120s. I read. Is that true?
Yeah.
The
the advisory is to stay inside. I mean, that's what they're telling people. Don't even go outside. Yeah, it's hard to say it's 90, 85, 90 here, and it's hot when people are hearing that and it's sitting at 115, 120 degree temperature.
Very close. Brian Gorman is right there.
Yeah, he ducked out of the way and turned around and saw it just go to the right of the foul line. Had a good view of it. The most important thing, get out of the way, get hit.
So 1-1 to Crisp, who fly ball in the right field. Coco in a little bit of a skid. 9 hits in his last 53 at bats. Toward Valbuena, kind of a cue shot, and that's out number 2.
One thing the A's are learning very quickly about Matt Garza, of course they already knew it, but they're saying it firsthand, is that he's not opposed to throwing anything and everything, especially 3-2. He's had 3-2 counts tonight, and threw Josh Reddick a slider. He threw Josh Donaldson a slider. One was a walk, one was a fly ball to left field.
Good breakdown, likes the slider, and he's got a good one.
Well, and that's the reason he'll throw it 67% of the time with the fastball. See, that's the difficulty of hitting. Let's see, how many fastballs he's thrown? That's 61%. So throwing percentages out. That makes it difficult if you can't do it mathematically quickly how many have been thrown. Talk to hitters who say, just tell me what he throws. I don't want to know how many he throws of different pitches, just what he throws, because I'll figure it out from there.
Would you say a hitter would rather know location than pitch type?
That's a good question, because it's probably comparable. I could see that he'd like to know maybe if he's going to throw fastballs or sliders, something off speed in certain counts, but location, if he doesn't like to pitch inside or can't, then sure, he can look outside regardless of the pitch has been thrown.
Smith chased a high fastball, and it's popped up toward Valbuena. So Garza has his first 3-up, 3-down inning, and we're headed to the 4th, 2-0 Cubs. In the American League to finish a season with an ERA under 3. Bartolo Colon coming into tonight. 2.79 ERA, 5th best in the American League. So he faces Rizzo, Navarro, Bogasevic. Only player in Major League history to win each of his first 6 starts he made after turning 40. Makes sense. He turned 40 toward the end of May. And he had the great June, pitcher of the month. One and one to Rizzo.
I'd like Dallaire to give us a hint on the 40-year-old with what particular era it might have been. Is it more recent, or do we have to go back in time? Come on, Dallaire. Help the people who are tweeting all these answers. Don't you think that, hey, get a little help?
Stay out of it. It's between you and our fine producer, Dallaire LaWurst.
He said he wouldn't give any hint, so that's it.
Shallow center. Coco trots in. Rizzo is retired. Colon won the Cy Young in 2005, and
now batting, number 30.
At that point in 2005, he was 10-4 with a 3.02 ERA, so an even better year.
See the mechanic, the changes in the mechanics in his delivery.
A bit.
That's probably why at 40, he's wearing the number 40, but he's got a little different delivery with his left hand.
Well, back then, and when he was with the Indians coming up, I mean, he could throw in the high 90s.
Oh, yeah. But I think it was his year with the White Sox when he just decided to throw fastballs. I think that was the most amazing thing to watch him do that.
And he had a pretty good year.
Yeah.
Donaldson is retired, so Deanna Navarro gets Coliseum'd.
But Navarro's familiar. He's played here as a member of the Rays, but I'd say that it's got to be frustrating. Rizzo hit one in the first inning and probably thought, well, any other park or but not here. And he is a little frustrated as well. Navarro. Oh, come on.
Now batting, number 47, Ryan.
He fouled it. And, you know, these guys foul balls like that. What do you say about the Coliseum?
Well, you probably initially, when you hit it, you don't think about it, and then you realize
where you are. Because he had a little slice on it, and it's going to slice it in the stands. That's why Wade Boggs did not like this park. The Hall of Famer won batting championship after batting championship, fouling off tough pitches, but not here. Had trouble seeing the ball, and all that foul territory took away a lot of at-bats.
0-2 to Bogusevic. That one bounced toward Donaldson. Grabs it, gets up, throws. What a play by Donaldson. He had to get up quickly. Bogusevic is fast, and he gunned it over to first. So a very nice play to end the top of the fourth.
Independence Day with the Oakland A's. Tomorrow, 10,000 fans will receive a green checkered A's picnic blanket presented by Comerica Bank when the A's host these Chicago Cubs. For more information and tickets, call 877-493-BALL or visit OaklandAthletics.com/tickets. It's going to be a good one tomorrow. It's going to be a beautiful day at the old yard. For the only thing different about tomorrow on Independence Day, and I know what you're going to hear me say, is that normally on a holiday you have a doubleheader. You know, Memorial Day, 4th of July,
it's true.
Labor Day, you know, just the old traditional, old-fashioned doubleheader. It's all right. One game at 1:05, first pitch.
Lowry, Cespedes, and Moss here against Garza, who has been good so far. He's given up just one hit. He's walked one and struck out one. 41 pitches through 3 innings. So, as advertised, Lowry hit a ball hard to Sherholson right in the first inning. And it's 1-1.
Always good to see when a pitcher, in the case of Garza, we know Colon, but second time to the batting order, do they change? Do the hitters realize maybe what he did the first time? Is he going to do the same the second time? Let's see if he throws more fastballs, if he goes 3-2, or falls behind on the count instead of going the slider that he likes to throw.
So he runs that fastball in, 2-1. Kyle Seager hit a 2-run homer for the Mariners in the top of the 10th inning. So it's 4-2 Seattle going to the bottom of the 10th. So Kyle Seager with a big hit in that game. Strike, 2-2.
Gary Vanover liked it. Close. Brought back by Navarro unnecessarily.
That one leans Lowry back.
Well, here's the first 3-2 count since Reddick in the second inning. See what he does.
Payoff pitch. And it was a slider. Valbuena in front of the A's dugout has it. So that's out number 1.
A lot of talk about Adrian Beltre and Longoria, but how about Josh Donaldson when it comes to a Gold Glove? Amazing strength in his arm and his accuracy, getting a fast base runner, getting out of the box quickly, popped up quickly with a slide, and then the cannon across the diamond. Accurately to first base. We've seen an accurate throws to second to start a double play. But when you possess an arm with the kind of strength he has, you can make sure in that case he got a 4-seam grip and threw a bullet across the diamond. I would say there'd be some serious consideration when it comes to the Gold Glove.
Cespedes grounded out in the first inning to end the first. Fastball is in, 94 miles an hour from Garza.
I think you said it best a couple of days ago about Cespedes, about his numbers not nearly where they were last year. Just think when he gets hot. And he will get hot before the season's over. And when he does, he's going to put up some big numbers and carry the club.
And he, like Coco right now, a little bit of a scuffle.
Cespedes probably realizing in his second season that maybe what happened to him last year. Same with Josh Reddick. 32 home runs for Reddick. Big season for Cespedes. And maybe not seeing the same pitches. They're considering his threat a little bit more. Game of adjustments, especially as a hitter. You cannot look for the same type of pitches that maybe you got when you had success.
2-2 now. Fastball, and it's close, but a bit high, 95 miles an hour.
And I'd say that he's going to make a mistake with a slider. He keeps throwing it on 3-2, and here comes a 2-2 fastball missed. And he looked back after his catcher to put the ball back in the strike zone. That's why a pitcher follows through, doesn't see the actual location until his catcher moves it back in the strike zone.
3-2, and he went with a fastball at 95, and Barney, the second baseman, is under it, and that's out number 2. So Garza throwing hard.
Makes you wonder sometimes whenever you see a pitcher throw 3-2 sliders, although he's gotten some outs, but he has a 95 fastball. He can use that as well.
Yep. So 2 outs for Moss. The Mariners won that game 4-2 in 10 innings over the Rangers. So the A's have a chance to get a full game on the Rangers. Seattle has won the first 2 games of that series. 1 more to go tomorrow.
2 runs tonight. What, they have 2 runs last night?
And that was ripped to right. Scherholz watches it, and that baby's gone. Moss has the A's on the board. It's 2-1.
If you have a 95 fastball and you hang a curveball, power hitters are going to take advantage of it. Brandon Moss 74-mile-an-hour curveball. And just, if you look at this swing, that was plant the front foot, keep the bat back, and then drop the hit. Look at the quickness on the inside when he pulled his hands in. That's pure power from a power hitter, taking a 74-mile-an-hour curveball and crushing it for a home run. 7 home runs in June for Brandon Moss, his first in this month of July.
Donaldson cannot hold up.
I think, Guy, when you looked at those numbers, show the direction in which Brandon Moss's home runs have been hit. And remembering that whenever he was with other organizations, they wanted him to be an opposite field hitter. Yet he's hit 12 home runs to right field. Sure. And that says it all. And that's what Chili Davis told him from the very beginning. Be yourself. You're a power hitter. You're a pull hitter. And that's what he's done. Chili knows his hitting. He knows his hitters. And why try to change somebody just because maybe he can get more hits the other way? But if he can do what he just did, Brandon Moss he'd take that anytime. You get his hits the other way, and he will crush a mistake.
But you watch Moss swing. That's probably not a swing that you're going to change a whole lot.
No.
That is not a hit the ball to left field swing. I mean, it's as much of a pull swing as you'll see.
Yeah.
So to try to change that. And that one's there for strike. So second strikeout for Garza as he gets Donaldson to end it. But Moss with a home run, his 15th of the year, rattles around on top of the out-of-town scoreboard. Cubs 2, A's 1. Finished the season with an ERA under 3. Nolan Ryan, 2.87 back in 1991.
Now, if we'd have had kind of a certain era, I was thinking of Gaylord maybe, or Tom Seaver.
Yeah, Gaylord would have been a very good guess. Well, we were kicking it around in the break, talking about what that answer may be.
Getting no help from Dallaire. That's all right. We weren't supposed to answer it in.
Cespedes is under it. And Cespedes takes care of it. So Darwin Barney is retired. That's the first out here in the 5th.
I always like to think about the out-of-town scoreboard, which is obviously they're showing the Mariners defeated the Rangers. I remember several years ago when the Blue Jays came into town and they were chasing or leading someone back on the East Coast, and they had posted the score, and some of the players said, well, we're not going to lose any ground. That's a time to pick up ground.
Yeah.
Whenever you can see that the team either is chasing you or is close and they've already lost. You got a chance to pick up a full game, not be happy with not losing a game.
But generally, if you're saying, well, we're not going to lose a game, you're probably not playing very well.
Yeah.
If you're playing well, you're like, yep, game to pick up.
Yeah, that's right.
8-2 in the third. Cardinals over the Angels.
See, he's looking at the out-town score right now. Brandon Moss, checking it out.
Wonder who hit that home run. How did the Mariners get their 2 runs? Bourbon tries to bunt, and the count is 1-2.
Bunted his first time back to Cologne. It's just chuckle because of just watching Bartolo flip the ball in the air and playing catch with himself.
This is the same Julio Bourbon we saw with the Rangers for a couple years. Shot off the glove of Sogard, and it trickles into right field.
That is and was a bullet. And he's playing back. And went down because the ball was sinking quickly as he went to his left.
Number 24, Luis.
And similar to Josh Reddick, almost robbing a home run, but this went off the thumb of the glove. A very small glove used by a second baseman, which is normal because they want to turn the double play and not have a larger glove.
So it goes as a hit for Bourbon. He's very fast. Remember, the Rangers gave Bourbon a lot of chances to be their everyday center fielder, and he just never really took the job. But I think they desperately wanted him to be kind of the leadoff guy. So getting a second chance with the Cubs. Valbuena with a home run in this game.
Two-seam fastball inside, that not where he wanted it, or maybe he was looking for it, but pulled the hands in, and Josh Reddick almost robbed him. I'd still be upset.
Valbuena, a couple of hits last night. And he rips this one toward Reddick. Reddick on the move, and he's going to get back there to make the catch. A line drive by Valbuena, but into the glove of Reddick.
Well, outfielders make it look so easy. Well, line drive, hardly any time to react. Ball off the bat, you have to read it. Sound, you can hear the sound of the ball meeting the bat, know how hard it's being hit. Swing of the hitter, and Josh Reddick plays it as well as anybody.
So here's Castro, singled and scored in the first, bounced out in the third. If Bourbon takes off, Cologne's going to keep a close eye.
He should. Of course, we said that about Easterfield all the time, too, right?
Yes, we did.
I always wonder if good base runners, base stealers have the green light and they just don't feel comfortable. Bartolo Colon is very quick to the plate, quick move to first base.
And it looked like he was going to go. The ball's tapped, and it is foul.
That's the one you'd hope that he would have missed, because you're right, he took off and Jason would have had a perfect opportunity to pick him off.
He did kind of a half start and then a stop, and then he went again.
Ball kicked foul was Jonathan. The ball clearly in foul territory, and even though he missed it. It's called foul.
So the count 0-1 to Castro. Those are clouds out there. Looks like a painting, doesn't it?
Sure does. Not even an X mark.
Ball not running, and the ball is lined right over top the Cubs bullpen. So 0-2 to Castro. Bobon not running, and the ball's hit into right field, a base hit. Bobon will stop at second. So Castro just kind of served on the right and just got through and past the diving Sogar. That's 7 hits now for the Cubs.
Fastball outside. It was elevated and a big hole on the right side. And Castro took advantage of it. But the importance there is that Bartolo Colon was able to keep Barbone at first. Because if he's at second, just like in the first inning when Castro was able to reach second on the wild pitch, scored on Soriano's base hit. So with Barbone not attempting to steal, essentially it would take 2 hits to drive him in. And Bartolo would try to keep Scherholz from being the second.
Scherholz takes high. Last night the Cubs out hit the Ace 13-10, but the Ace hit 3 home runs. And tonight Cubs are out hitting the Ace 7-2.
As you said earlier, the mistake that was made to help the A's score a couple of runs.
The dropped pop-up, which led to 2 unearned runs for the A's, and of course A's win by 1. You sort of had a feeling that that was going to cost the Cubs as the game rolled on. Two-0 to Scherholz, and he had a big rip. He got a fastball, and it was actually looked like a pretty good pitch to hit, and Scherholz fouled it back.
It's a challenge fastball down the middle, belt high, and maybe a little bit extra on the fastball from Colon if Scherholz was not able to make solid contact.
.73 pitches for Colon. Scherholz waits, and the 2-1 pitch is in for a strike. A changeup, it looked like.
Yeah, you have a game plan. If catcher John Jaso and then Bartolo Colon called him out, maybe to say, you know, we haven't thrown any changeups, so maybe he's looking fastball. We'll pull the string on him and just completely froze Scherholz.
Barbone at second, Castro at first. Scherholz goes down to get it, fouls it. Another 2-2 pitch. Foul back again. So good battle here between Cologne and Scherholz.
It's one of the old two-seam fastball inside, because so far Scherholz has been able to kind of extend his arms. The thing about Buena beat Cologne with a fastball, the two-seamer inside, but that was after the first one was thrown to him for a strike. Came back to try to finish him off, but Scherholz, he has not thrown the two-seamer inside.
Maybe we'll see it here. And there it was. Missed a bit high, maybe. So now the runners will be moving.
I would think it had to been called inside, because Larry Vanover has been calling the belt plus strikes, but maybe just not have enough of the two-seam action.
So another 3-2 to Scherholz. Runners are ready to go. And that one's looped into shallow center. Chris coming in, and he'll get there. Side retired. Cubs strand 2. Bottom of the 5th coming up. 2-1 Chicago. California is brought to you by Cache Creek Casino Resort, Red, White, and U Jeep giveaway. Visit cachecreek.com for details. That's a home run swing, folks. Wow. Brandon Moss, last inning, a solo shot. So bottom of the 5th, Cubs 2 and the A's 1. It was home run number 15 on the year for Moss.
Such a great swing, and just, it's like he looked at it, just a very slight hesitation, realized there's a hanger, and then pulled the string. And he unloads, he can crush it.
So Jaso to lead off. It'll be the bottom 3 in the A's order. Jaso, Reddick, Sogard against Matt Garza. 59 pitches through 4 innings for Garza. Jaso hit a fly ball to left field in the 2nd inning. First pitch is a fastball, swing and a miss. Saw Garza last inning get it up to 95 miles an hour. So he has that ability to get a little extra if he needs it. Grounded, right side. Rizzo has it. And that's out number 1. But you missed the latest edition of All A's, or you just want to watch it again, be sure to log on to CSNCalifornia.com for all your favorite segments, which are available on demand right now. Go behind the plate during one of A.J. Griffin's bullpen sessions and find out what he focuses on in between starts. CSNCalifornia.com, it's your interactive home for authentic Bay Area sports.
That should be an interesting conversation from A.J. And he has one of 3 languages he can explain what he does between starts and bullpen sessions.
Reddick takes a bit low. Reddick also flied out to left field in the second. 2-0. That one on the outside corner for a strike. Garza with 1 walk and 2 strikeouts. Bunted foul toward Mike Gallego.
Not a bad idea. Pretty good pitch to hit, 2-1. Also pretty good pitch to bunt, especially with the shift. As hard as he hit, if they got by Valbuena, been a double.
Valbuena now moves back a little bit further with 2 strikes on Reddick. Fastball is high. Sogard will be next. He's with just 2 hits off Garza so far. Foul back. Got a fastball and a good swing by Reddick.
Got a slider in his last at bat, his first for the night on a count 3-2. So he's working full twice.
And a breaking ball on 3-2, and Reddick watches it, and he's aboard.
The 3rd issue of Athletics magazine featuring Brandon Moss and Derek Norris is now available. The magazine also features a special excerpt from Ken Korak's new book about the legendary Bill King. The new issue is available at team stores and online at oaklandathletics.com/magazine.
So here's Sogard.
Holy Toledo. Brandon Moss, or Josh Reddick, took the 3-2 slider like he knew it was coming. Maybe because he got the 1 fastball he found off and figured if he's going to throw it again, he'll be ready, but totally slider.
So 0-1 to Sogard, who hit a fly ball to left field in his first at bat. Hop up, will reach the seats. So did they announce a sellout?
Yep. 8th of the season. At this point, 8th before the All-Star break, which passed the halfway point. His 85th game of the season, but sellout's pretty special.
Fastball is high. Quick throw and a close play at first. Reddick just got back. Rizzo being left-handed certainly helped him there.
Well, it's a perfect pitch to throw and try and pick off. Got the high fastball that he called.
That was close.
That was real close. Josh Reddick really getting the big lead, and A quicker tag, and he's out.
The A's making Garza work a little harder here in the bottom of the 5th inning, which they do as well as anybody. And Sogard cannot hold up on a breaking ball that was in the dirt. So that's the 3rd strikeout for Garza.
But he was geared to fastball and just could not hold up his swing. A hard slider, when it's down that low, you try to pick up the spin. It starts your swing, but he tried to stop it, just not quickly enough.
So Coco steps in, top of the order. Fly ball to right, and a ground out to 3rd for Crisp. Coco fouls it into the 2nd level, just down to our left. Field plays Coco pretty much straight away. I think Coco would be a tough guy to defend because he will hit the ball to all fields.
Well, his power also.
Yeah, he's got a little power.
Yeah. But usually it's more pull power. And if an outfielder, in this case the left fielder, is playing deep, then that's not really the smart thing to do, because I don't know if Coco is going to hit a ball over a left fielder's head, hitting from the left side, and same from the right side to right field. But they'll take the base hits, they'll take the line drives in front of it. Make a mistake on an off-speed pitch, you'll pull it, usually down the line on the left side, and you go down the right field line.
So Smith would be next if Coco can get himself aboard. Garza slows things down and gets runners on base, which you see a lot of pitchers do. And that one's lined towards center. Borbone comes in, makes the catch. Side retired. Runner left, and we are on to the 6th. 2-1 Cubs. Northside, California is brought to you by GoPro, the world's most versatile camera. GoPro, be a hero. Downtown Oakland, busy night. Pitchers duel between Colon and Garza, 2-1. And Soriano swings at the first pitch. To Soriano, Rizzo, and Navarro. Fastball is high, 1-1. Soriano, an RBI single and a fly ball to center field. Pitch number 82 for Colon. That one's looped into right. Reddick's going to get there, and he's got it.
Caprio, a big thanks to all the fans tonight because of the current transportation situation. I'll just leave it at that in the Bay Area. And a sellout crowd, and it looks like if there are any no-shows, they're very few. This place is filled up completely all around and in center field, multiple decks. So I think it's great. Fans, of course, fireworks, but I think they're also coming out to watch their Oakland A's playing very well.
0-1 to Anthony Rizzo, who was 0 for 2. Rizzo is hitless in this series. He's 0 for 5. He did walk and score a run last night. Very powerful. You can just tell by his size and his swing. Those gentlemen are enjoying the game tonight. I hope they're relaxing.
For what they do, they need to relax on a night like tonight. So that's great. Maybe they brought the breeze in because it picked up a little bit. Very nice breeze going.
Line drive towards Cespedes, who comes in, and that's out number 2.
Eleven fly ball outs for Colon with 2 outs in the 6th inning. He can be a ground ball pitcher, as we saw earlier when he got a double play.
Navarro.
That was nice to turn in the 2nd inning.
Navarro 0 for 2 after getting 3 hits last night. Pop-up foul. Colon has not walked anybody, and he has not struck out anybody. Do not see that very often. He's not going to walk a lot of guys, but not a full-blown strikeout guy either. But Moss dives, just tips off his glove and rolls into right field.
Nice effort by Brandon Moss, hit very hard by Navarro. Words of encouragement from. Now, Colon didn't have to continue to first base once the ball ended up in right field, but I think he wanted to have a conversation with Navarro. Great effort, just off the glove, and he comes up with it. Then a nice play. The comments by Colon to Navarro, and now Brandon Moss. Happy to have somebody to talk to.
Bogusevic takes low. He's got a base hit. Pitch number 90 coming up. That one, a fastball, and Bogusevic fouls it straight back. Soriano single in the first, knocked in a run, and a Valbuena homer. Those are the 2 runs for the Cubs so far. Clones hoping those are the only 2 runs. Check swing and did not go. Navarro is not going anywhere at first base. He's got a very short lead.
Yeah, but the left-handed batter, just really surprised that Moss is even holding it. And maybe with extra base hit, keep him a little bit closer, but it's not going to happen this time.
Lowry takes care of it. Side retired, a runner left. Bottom of the 6th coming up. Still 2-1 Cubs. Played shortstop and first base for the Cubs from 53 to 71. Won a couple of MVPs. Number 14 is retired, and he's a Hall of Famer. Was elected in 1977. Part of the Major League All-Century team, which was announced in 1999. He was Mr. Cub. Gold Glove winner. 58 and 59 is when he won the MVP.
He had the wrist, all you need. I mean, just look at his size. Not the big muscular, 500 plus home runs, and you know, just basically it was all wrist. You see that swing, that sweet swing of the wrist, and he upset a lot of people because his mantra was, let's play 2 every day. Let's play 2. Well, Ernie, you might want to play 2, but nobody else wants to. But he was a believer. Play 2.
You know, he played on there was some talented Cubs teams when you think about some of the players they had, and it almost surprises you that they never won in the 60s. They never even won a division in the 60s, I don't believe. Of course, they lost a big lead to the Mets in, 69?
Kessinger and Beckett. Middle, of course, Ron Santo, the great third baseman, Randy Hundley. Billy Williams, sweet swing of Billy Williams.
Ferguson Jenkins must have been on those teams, huh?
Exactly. Consistently winning 20 games. You know, at that time there were basically 16 teams, 8-8. You know, you either won or you didn't win, and the National League played the American League, and that was it.
Smith lines out. Here's our Ford right choice. How about this guy, Ron Santo, the late great Ron Santo. He was with the Cubs from 1960 to 1973. All-Star 9 times, Gold Glover 5 times. His number 10 retired. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2010, but he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2012.
I did an interview with him that spring. And last words were, Ronnie, we all think should be in the Hall of Fame. And he very simply said, I hope I'm alive when it happens. And unfortunately, he was not. And it's too bad, because, you know, there was somebody said at one time, well, there are too many Cubs already in the Hall of Fame. Look at the Yankees. Look at other teams. I mean, how can you say?
Yeah, that doesn't.
No,
doesn't make any difference.
It's a horrible statement. But he deserved, and he should have been inducted into the Hall of Fame before he unfortunately passed away.
Yeah, he had some fairly major health issues for quite a while.
Diabetic.
And
prosthesis. Actually, I would see him over at Mesa Hohokam Park, and I'd say, how you doing, Ronnie? He said, I'm going to go down and do the manager show. Now, he had double prosthesis, and he would beat me down the stairs. And I said, slow down, you know. But he was just unbelievable life and energy, and just a great Cub. His license plate, living in Arizona, was Cub 10.
Yep, as it should be.
That's right.
So 0-2 to Lowry. Garza, his pitch count now at 82.
Well, the A's just need to stay close, and Bartolo Colon is doing his job. Of course, the A's bullpen capable of keeping it right where it is, and give the A's a chance to come back and at least tie and then take the lead.
And that's a base hit to left field, so Lowry going to tomahawk one.
That might have been a swing of, well, it's 2 strikes. Is he going to throw me the slider? Threw him a slider his last at bat, 3-2, and he popped up weakly to the third baseman. Just waited, high fastball and out of the strike zone, but perfectly hit to the opposite field. He had multiple hit games that Jed Lowry's had for the A's this season. That's not surprising to see that hit going to the opposite field. Garza made a mistake with a curveball to Brandon Moss. And he has thrown more fastballs since the first time through the batting room. And maybe the curveball that he hung to Brandon Moss will take him away from the pitch a little bit.
That one up and into Cespedes. Pulls his arms up to get out of the way.
That's a purpose pitch. That is good job of pitching inside without making a mistake and hitting the hitter. And do it again.
Missed inside, and now it's 2-0. So Garza snaps at the baseball. He's an emotional pitcher. Lowry at first with 1 out. Breaking ball, and it's 2-1. I think some guys, they get a little too emotional. The wheels come off a little bit. I don't know that that's the case with Garza. He seems to be able to kind of channel it.
A 2-0 fastball, or 2-0, the 2 fastballs missing in. He comes back with a perfect slider in the middle of the plate.
Fastball misses high. So 3-1 with Moss waiting in the on-deck circle. He's trying to make some noise here in the 6th.
Threw him a 2-0 slider, didn't give in. Now the count's 3-1. We throw another slider.
Threw him a fastball, and he missed. Close pitch.
Just a great swing that you can see from a power hitter. It's a slight hesitation and then let the bat get through the zone and hammer to right field.
So Moss steps in, chance to tie or maybe more.
I think the assessment is at bat just indicative of the A's approach. Close, it didn't swing, ball 4. Some guys would swing the pitch and hit a ground ball and hit the double play.
First pitch to Moss. Swing and a miss. Saw a fastball, so he ripped at it.
He had a hanging curve, first pitch fastball, and he was looking for it. Just swung right through it. That might have been a double to left center. They're playing him to pull. Keep pitching him outside. He will go to left center.
Swing and a miss. They may got a piece of it, a little piece of it, so it's 0-2. So Garza keeping it away from him.
Swung at it almost like it was a changeup, but it was a fastball.
So 0-2. And he stayed with a fastball. That one 93 with quite a bit of movement. And that's a big strikeout for Garza, his 4th.
I did not want to take a chance inside after the first fastball, a little bit towards the middle but down, but then back-to-back fastballs away. Just notice the sign on the auxiliary boards. Vote 20, Josh Donaldson.
I agree.
Yeah. Vote early, vote often.
Walk and a strikeout for Donaldson. Takes the first pitch strike.
Time Josh was looking fastball or something inside because he opened up slightly, but fastball away, didn't swing at it. Very disciplined.
Drive to right center, but playable for Bourbon, and he makes the catch. So side retired A's rally, but they strand a pair. 7th inning coming up. sister station Comcast Sportsnet Bay Area. A's clubhouse reaction from this game. They have 30 A's in 30 days. It'll be Josh Reddick who will be featured. So there will be an A's player featured every day in the month of July. And big news from Namni Asamoah. David Feldman and Mindy Bach will host. So that's Sportsnet Central. Coming up right next door at Comcast Sportsnet Bay Area. 2-1, 7th inning. Cubbies leading. Sellout crowd tonight at the Coliseum. Fireworks coming up after the game. That game down in Anaheim still going on. 5th inning. Cardinals 9, Angels 2. It was a 7-run second inning for the Cards. Mentioned Max Scherzer winning tonight. The Tigers beat Toronto 6-2. So Max Scherzer is 13-0. Clemens, the last one to start 13-0. He did that in 1986. Pretty impressive.
Only got 6-run support tonight. What is? He gets about 7 a game. And the way he pitches,
he doesn't need 7 a game.
There's the play by Brandon Moss. Very good play. He struck out on 3 pitches, but I always like to see a hitter, if he does not get a hit, play outstanding defense. And that's the great thing. Go to the plate 4 to 5 times, but you're in the field 9 innings, and you can make a spectacular play to more than make up for what you might not be doing at the plate. Brandon Moss, not bad for a converted. He was an outfielder, and he said, I want to play first, and he has played very well at first base.
Here's Bourbon with 1 out. Jay coming back, but it's going to drop in the first inning. Orioles beat the White Sox 4-2. Another home run for Chris Davis. He's got 32 home runs and 83 RBIs. And he's hitting .331.
Is he the player of the month?
He'll be the player of the year.
He had a huge month of June.
He's not the A's, he's the A. Left field, and that's going to be fair, and it's going to shoot past Cespedes. And Bourbon is going to round second, and he's going to try for third, and he's going to make it easily with a triple. Well, there's the Julio Bourbon speed. Well, it not only got past Cespedes, but then it kicked away from him a little bit.
That's a big 90 feet also. Because the infield's probably going to have to come in, but sliced it down the left field line. And I mean, think about it. He bunted his first at bat right back to Colon. And then Cespedes had to get past him again. And he can run. And then when he hits second with the ball in front of him, did not have to pick up David Bell. Everything on his own, but that extra 90 feet does bring the A's infield in.
Valbuena is the hitter. And it's popped up. Cespedes in, Lowry out, and it's going to be Lowry who makes the catch. So Valbuena goes after the first pitch, and he pops out. Big out.
Bartolo Colon gave him a little bit extra. Remember, he hit the home run on a 2-seam fastball. This was 92, just reared back and threw it hard. And maybe the little extra on the fastball couldn't drive it. Instead, got under it and popped it up. Cespedes probably should have called him off. He was there. But Lowry able to make the play. It was a long run for Cespedes, but at least the ball wasn't slicing away from him.
So Castro steps in. Everybody can move back to their normal spots. This pitch is way outside. Jaso grabs it.
He caught the ball behind him. That's how much it took off on him.
1-0 to Castro. He's 2 for 3. In that Orioles game, it was Feldman who started, and got a no decision. Scott Feldman, who just went to the Orioles from the Cubs yesterday. Doolittle starts to throw for the A's. Outside, 3-0. Red Sox beat the Padres 2-1, so the Red Sox win their 3rd straight. They are now 52-34, and that's the best record in the American League. Johnny Gomes, a walk-off, pinch hit, home run in the 9th inning. Game winner.
Well, he was brought in to pinch hit with the bases loaded recently and did the same thing. It was a double. Pinched hit for the switch hitting Nava. John Farrell put him in because of his veteran status. Bases loaded. They came through. Johnny's not hit for a big average.
No.
Just coming through with big hits.
You win a game. Outside, and it's a walk.
Well, that's a tough call, and I think it's going to be Kurt. It's Bob Melvin.
So that's the first walk issued by Cologne. Scherholz is the hitter.
He has not made the move, and with Bob Melvin coming out, it's to discuss with him. You know, it almost looked like he was pitching around him or pitching him carefully. Castro. And of course, it's left-hander. Left-hander in the bullpen. You know, with Bob Melvin, I think it's hilarious when he says, "How you doing? How do you feel?" And he said, "I'm fine, Skip. How do you feel?" He comes right back to him, and that's the reason Bob Melvin. He, of course, we've seen this happen, and I think the biggest thing, he would like to see Cologne get through this inning and have a chance for his club to come back and score him some runs, get him a win. But I think it's more than anything to ask Cologne, what do you think about Scherholz? He got him out last time. Took 8 pitches to do it.
Scherholz takes outside, and it's 1-0. Scherholz pop out, triple, fly ball to center. His triple was to left field. Cespedes could not catch it, and then it rolled past him. Popped up, so he's going to get Scherholz. Cespedes is under it. Side retired. So Cubs waste an opportunity. 7th inning stretch from the Coliseum. It's the Cubs with a 2-1 lead over the A's. At the Coliseum in front of a sellout crowd, it's the Cubs 2 and the A's 1. Garza and Colon hooked up. Figured it'd be a duel, and it has been. Bartolo Colon looks like he is done for the night.
Well, we saw Chip Hale, the A's bench coach, turn around, look at the lineup. He was putting in another name in the pitcher slot, but what a great job by Bartolo Colon. Now even better, try to get a couple of runs since he is finished for the night.
See, Garza sitting at 93 pitches. So this very well could be his last inning. So Jaso, Reddick, and Sogard, 3 left-handed hitters. Pedro Strop just acquired. He's up and sporting the Cubs uni. He's going to get in there. And a fastball on the outside corner. 0-2. Garza has not made a whole lot of mistakes in the inner half. He likes to keep the ball away, especially to the left-handed hitters.
It's actually very smart pitching. Because at one time there was concern about hitters taking an outside fastball and hitting the opposite field for home runs, but not as much now.
Stays out there again, throwing hard, misses 2-2. Russell, the left-hander, starts to get up.
Chris Bosio, the pitching coach, tried to indicate with his left arm for the lefty to get up. Otherwise, he had to go to the phone to do it.
Rolled foul.
Jamie Quirk, the bench coach for Dale Swaim, a member of the Athletics back in 88, 89, 92, and actually interviewed for the job here for the A's as their manager.
And strike 3 call. Garza knew it. He started walking around the mound before Larry Vanover finished the call. He must have liked the pitch. Here it is.
Yeah, he's a slider.
Yep.
Number 16, Josh Reddick.
Isn't that amazing that a pitcher knows before anybody else?
So 1 out for Reddick. Reddick hits one high and foul. Astros beat the Rays in Houston 4-1. Chris Carter hit 2 home runs. He's got 17 home runs on the year now. Bud Norris, who's in the trade rumors quite a bit, the right-handed pitcher from a Bay Area native, he got the win.
See, the Sacramento River Cats sent Chris Carter a bobblehead of Chris Carter.
That's right.
It's cute. Brought a big smile to his face.
Reddick, a fly ball and a walk. Yankees beat the Twins 3-2. Sabathia got career win number 200. So congratulations to CC. 9 strikeouts in 7 innings.
In the modern era, CC Sabathia is the one that people think could be the next 300-game winner.
Maybe. A lot of work to do yet.
Yeah, oh, a lot of work.
Reddick drives on the left, but in the ballpark for Bogasevic. And he's got it.
CC, and I think he could pitch in a 4-man rotation, but being that he's in a 5-man rotation, fewer starts. But he does pitch deep in the game, so if he has a lead, then he can control his own destiny.
And the score we mentioned, the Seattle Mariners got a 2-run homer from Kyle Seager in the top of the 10th inning. They defeated the Texas Rangers 4-2. One hopper right at Darwin Barney, and the side is retired. So Garza has retired 5 in a row, and we're moving to the 8th. Still 2-1 Cubs.
Very own Josh Reddick jersey on Saturday, July the 13th. 10,000 fans will receive a Josh Reddick green replica jersey. It's presented by Cache Creek Casino Resort when the A's host the Boston Red Sox. For more information and tickets, call 877-493-BALL or visit oaklandathletics.com/tickets.
So we're looking forward to that, as all the giveaways. Always very popular. When it's time for change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up. The oil change, tune-up, and smog experts. Doolittle comes in. You saw him getting loose last inning. And he comes in here in the top of the 8th inning, trying to keep it a one-run game. Cubs bullpen at times has been a little shaky this year. And we all know about the late inning heroics that the A's always seem to come up with. Soriano swings and misses at a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. He's been good tonight. We figured he would be. 3 hits, just 1 run. And that's not the look of a guy who's done for the night either.
We saw Wainwright over the weekend.
Reddick backpedaling near the warning track. He's got it.
Now, Wainwright over the weekend looked like he might be coming out, and then he sat down and put the jacket on and went back out. Complete game. John Doolittle last night, as you mentioned, up in the bullpen a couple of times, and we have seen at times when the reliever gets up in the bullpen, especially in the case of Doolittle a couple of times, and not come in the game. And I asked him if it affected him. He said with the off day or off days, he said no. He said he was fine. And that's why he's pitching tonight after getting up in the bullpen a couple of times last night.
Fastball for a strike.
95 easy heater. I don't think it affected him all.
No, he never loses any velocity. Popped up. Sogard has it, and Anthony Rizzo is 0 for 4.
Well,
the A's have kept him quiet in this series.
Bullpen is active, and we'll see if this is just we're getting some throwing or. I'd say he's going out. At least he didn't shake anybody's hands like Cologne did.
No. Jacket halfway on. Navarro swings around to hit from the right side. Fastball poured in there for a strike from Doolittle. Four hits in the series for Navarro. That one missed by just a touch. A's will have the top of the order in the bottom of the 8th inning. And that one's drilled into the left field corner. Cespedes picks it up quickly, guns it back in. Navarro's going to have to hustle for second, and he just gets in. Ball came back nicely for Cespedes. He picked it up clean and from the warning track made a pretty decent throw.
Well, it's a low fastball. Navarro dropped the head of the bat on it, and Cespedes has a very strong arm. This one just a little bit offline. I think Sogard, good job of applying the tag, staying with it in case the big man overslid the bag.
So here's Bogusevic. So lefty on lefty, Bogusevic is 1 for 3. Fastball running in, and Bogusevic swings and misses. Slider, nasty. First one he's thrown tonight, and it was a good one.
We'll see a lot of those on the scouting report. With the name Sean Doolittle out, that is mostly high fastballs. Just telling John Jason couldn't see the sign.
To pitch. Line to left, a base hit. Navarro's going to round third. He's going to come in to score. Cespedes lets it go by him, and Bogusevic's going to end up at second. So the Cubs get a big insurance run. It's now 3-1.
Well, you have to wonder, a very good slider and just opposite field. Remember the play made by Donaldson earlier? Well, Cespedes has had more balls hit to him tonight.
So he went for the slide just to field it cleanly, and it shot past him. It goes as a double and obviously an RBI. Here's Barney. Fastball in for a strike. So Bogusevic has been tough on the A's in this series. Fastball a bit high, 1-1 the count. So a 2-out double by Navarro, and then Bogusevic with a double. Swing and miss. That's the pitch right there that you're not going to be able to hit.
Well, and actually, if he could do that consistently, nobody would ever hit him.
Watch how it just runs away from a right-handed hitter. It takes off.
Yeah. And it looks so good and easy to hit. But the ball that Navarro hit was a fastball down. He just dropped the head of the bat on it. Bogusevic, a pitch similar, away about bell time.
And that one rolled towards Sogard, who charges, flips to first. Side retired. So a run on 2 hits. Bottom of the 8th coming up. The Cubs now lead 3-1. Local Toyota dealers. Luis Valbuena. That's right, Luis Valbuena, a home run in the 3rd inning, and that gave the Cubs a 2-0 lead. A's would get a run back. Moss with a solo shot, his 15th of the year in the 4th inning. So that made it 2-1. Bartolo Colon, good as always. But unfortunately, Bartolo Colon is not going to get his 12th win. Matt Garza's been very good. And we thought he would be. He has been, and he's back out there. You know, he's been 3-11-0 for the Cubs, 1-3-0 for the Athletics. Been watching Matt Garza, Ray, and you saw him sitting in the dugout. I'm a guy that sometimes has a bad back, and he had that sit up straight. My back's a little stiff, and he's been stretching his back out on the pitcher's mound. What that means, I do not know, but I know what it looks like when they sit a little.
What do you think the scouts are saying in the stands when they see that?
They are writing feverishly. Now, we don't know that for sure. There's a shot right back up the middle, and Coco Crisp hits the first pitch from Garza in the bottom of the 8th for a base hit. But he was doing a lot of stretching in the dugout as well. So, again, that's just what we saw. We don't know that there's necessarily anything wrong.
Now the fastball from Garza to Coco Crisp. And there's that zero stride, upper body, and got an elevated fastball and right back up the middle. A good way to start the 8th inning. And what a difference a run makes in the top of the inning with 2 outs. The Cubs scoring an insurance run. And Coco leading off. If it's a 1-run game, then the possibility of a steal. Career and Russell up.
So 106 pitches you see for Garza. His next pitch will tie his season high. Ball in the dirt, blocked by Navarro. So 1-1 the count. Again, a righty and a lefty, Guerrero and Russell warming up for the Cubs. Smith rolls over on that one. It's a fair ball. Rizzo has it, and he steps on first and then throws to second, and Coco's going to beat it. The A's will have a runner at second with 1 out.
And there's a case of the shortstop Castro realizing it's a tag play, not a force out, as Rizzo took the out at first. And then Coco fortunately running very hard. And even for the second base umpire, I would assume he knew also that it had to be a tag play. The way he was looking, the throw. Actually, the throw beat if it's a force out, but it wasn't. So the A's do put a runner in scoring position. Rizzo made the right play to get the out at first base. And again, the difference in the extra run, 3-1 versus 2-1.
First pitch to Lowry is get outside. One for 3 tonight for Jed Lowry. 1 for 7 in the series. Chavez left, Cook right in the A's bullpen. So both bullpens very busy. Pitch number 110 coming up from Garza. He missed outside, 2-0. Cespedes waiting in the on-deck circle. Well, the A's got a 3-run homer last night in the 8th inning to erase a deficit. And that one is a strike. So there's that fastball by Garza away from a left-handed hitter.
Still think that a couple of swings that Brandon Moss had on the 93-mile-an-hour fastballs away from him, the way he was swinging like they were changeups, but at 93, that's not a changeup. It's more of a fastball. 93, 96 is what he usually throws with the fastball.
That one's driven to center. Bourbon on the move, still on the move, and he makes the over-the-shoulder catch. Coco tags, he'll go to third. Lowry hit that ball well, but Bourbon was able to track it down.
You know what we asked him on Sunday about what's it like hitting the Coliseum in a day game? Much better than night. Well, he'll probably go back to dugout and say Coliseum night baseball. A little warmer tonight than what it typically is with the marine layer, but still, ball didn't make the warning track.
But that's the pitch location
exactly,
as well, right?
Exactly.
I mean, if that ball's centered a little bit, then he's got a chance to pull it. So we'll see what Garza does with Cespedes. It was 0 for 2 with a walk. Grounded out and popped out. 1 for 6 in the series. And the first pitch is a slider, and it's called the ball. I think Mr. Vanover is.
Well, just it's above the knees. Maybe that's not high enough when he likes to call the bell time.
He went with a fastball, and Garza is going to get out of it. So Matt Garza, 8 strong innings as the A's strand a runner at third here in the 8th. 9th inning coming up.
On Comcast Sportsnet California is brought to you by Xfinity, home of the most live sports, and by Toyota. Do the math and save at your local Toyota dealer.
Well, join us tomorrow. Cubs and the Athletics will wrap up this series. 12:30 A's pregame live. The ball game at 105. And the pitching matchup heads up. Dan Straley is going to make the start. Travis Wood, pretty good ERA for Wood. He's a left-hander. He'll start for the Cubs. So, Dan Straley and not Jared Parker. And the A's have pushed Parker's start back to Saturday, is what we've been told. So Straley will pitch tomorrow, so he'll be brought up. Parker will pitch on Saturday in Kansas City. That's your pitching rotation up. When it's time for a change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up, your oil change tune-up and smog experts. Jesse Chavez comes in. Face Julio Bourbon and then Valbuena and Castro. Bunted, and it's going to be a good one. Chavez hustles, and he makes a nice play. Jesse Chavez, the pitcher, took care of it on his own. It was either do it on your own or Bourbon's going to have a base hit.
Jesse Chavez, and you're right, once Brandon Moss broke in, what a play, and it's great to see a pitcher have the athletic ability to be able to catch the ball and then sprint over at an angle to get the sliding Bourbon, who is very fast. Bourbon did not feel the tag, but he just barely got him. That's all that matters. That is a tremendous play, and Jesse Chavez works out all the time. I said, why do you do that? He says, I can't sit still. Well, look at his body. And that's probably because of his size. He was able to move as quickly as he did to put out.
So 0-2 to Luis Valbuena. Home run tonight for Valbuena, his 7th of the year. Just over the reach of Josh Reddick's glove. Reddick made a great effort, and he actually got a glove on it. The 0-2 pitch is looped down the left field line, and it is just foul.
Interesting line for Bourbon, the 9th place hitter. This ball just barely, no chalk, just to the foul side, and just enough as Valbuena tried to slice it. He was the one to hit the home run to right field off Bartolo Colon. But Bourbon book in with bunts.
Yep, that's true.
And a single and a triple in between. And 2 balls hit very hard. Maybe somebody had a wager with him. I bet you won't try to bunt twice tonight. And he did, but 2 very good plays.
Kevin Gray, he's the closer. And we'll see him. Fastball runs inside. Castro waits in the on deck circle. A 3-1 Cubs lead here in the top of the 9th inning. A's know that the Texas Rangers have lost. The Angels are losing big time. Donaldson cannot quite get that one. It scoots under his glove. Valbuena has a hit. Donaldson went into a slide, and we're just used to him catching just about everything.
Well, the slide, he was trying to catch the ball, pop up, and throw out the speedy Valbuena, and maybe the speed of the hitter as it just eluded his glove. Boy, we've seen 3 tonight just off the thumbs of the gloves.
Well,
Sogard, Reddick, of course, the home run, and now Donaldson with the ball just off his glove.
so here's Castro. Swing and a miss. See, Castro, he's got a pretty big swing, and got 4 home runs on the year.
As he's inserting more sunflower seeds into his mouth, asking Larry Vanover to strike.
And drops low. 2 singles and a walk for Castro tonight. Scored a run in the first inning. The game in Anaheim is the Cardinals 11, the Angels 2, bottom of the 7th inning. Fastball low. There is another game going on. Cleveland and Kansas City is tied 3-3 in the 6th inning in Kansas City, and there was a fairly lengthy rain delay before the game got started.
It's 11:48 in Kansas City, so something had to happen.
Tigers won, so the Tigers and the Indians right now are tied for first place in the Central. Kansas City 5.5 back.
Checking the weather forecast this weekend. There's one day there's a 40% chance of rain.
All right.
John Rooney, the Cardinals broadcaster, said they've had 15 hours of rain delays in St. Louis this year. So we're going right into the storm center, Midwest.
Well, they had a rain delay in New York between the Diamondbacks and the Mets. That game eventually was played.
Where was the pitch? This is amazing. John Jaso held it for a long time for Larry Vanover, and I don't know.
That would be a strike.
Larry, if you're not going to give the outside corner on the plate or a little bit off, how could you miss the one inside? And as Greg comes back, 100%.
Well, he missed that one, and he missed a Garza pitch last inning. So 3-1 to Castro. Scherholz will be next. Rolled foul. In the bottom of the 9th, it'll be Moss, Donaldson, and Jaso, the 3 scheduled hitters. got a couple of guys with lots of power, and that's where that insurance run came in big for the Cubbies. Runner goes, and it's fouled right side. Fireworks coming up after the game tonight, so crowd, not that they leave anyways. These fans stick around. They're really sticking around tonight.
Well, the A's will try to do what they did last night with Derek Norris, strike him out, throw him out. Nope, no strikeout.
Reddick is under it as he moves to his right, so Castro's retired. 2 outs here in the top of the ninth for Nate Scherholz. Kevin Gregg is the Cubs closer. He is loose and ready to go.
Now batting, number 19, Nate Scherholz.
So Scherholz steps in 1 for 4 with a triple. He was 1 for 5 last night, so 2 for 9 in the series. He gets out in front of that one, rolls over on it. So the A's will head to Kansas City and Pittsburgh on the upcoming road trip. We'll leave tomorrow after the day game. We'll see those Royals. Scherholz rips it foul. See the Royals, who are trying to stay with the Indians and the Tigers in that AL Central, and then the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have the best record in baseball. They won again tonight. So kind of looking forward to going to Pittsburgh. Beautiful ballpark.
Allegheny River.
Yeah, crowd is going to be into it. That's
they're drawing.
What we're hearing, that it's turning into a pretty good atmosphere around Pittsburgh. And it's just a team you don't see very often. Don't see them in spring training.
Also good to see George Brett, the new hitting coach of the Kansas City Royals. Hall of Famer coming out of the front office to take over as the hitting coach.
Little pop up. Donaldson should be able to take care of this, and he does. Bottom of the ninth coming up. Do the A's have some magic in them tonight? I think they do. 3-1 Cubs. Bottom of the ninth inning, 3-1. Cubs lead the A's.
Time now for the AT&T U-verse rewind. It will be Brandon Moss. A curveball from Garza. One of the few bad pitches he has made tonight, or did make, in 8 innings. A hanging curveball at the time. It made it a 2-1 game, but the A's, unfortunately, have seen the Cubs add one. So Kevin Gregg would try to close it out.
So indeed it is Kevin Gregg, the 35-year-old right-hander, as he faces Moss, Donaldson, and Jaso. And the first pitch fouled straight back. So when it's time for a change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up, your oil change tune-up and smog experts. Good numbers for Kevin Gregg. 13 saves, ERA at 1.65. High pop-up, left field. Bogusevic is going to have just enough room, and he makes the catch right in front of the A's relievers for out number 1. So here comes Donaldson. He's got to get somebody on base, get that tying run to the plate. Cologne pitched very well again tonight. Garza was just a little bit better.
Well, that's what happens. You run up against somebody that your offense cannot score runs against, and it happened at least for 8 innings, with the exception of the Moss home run.
Donaldson got a fastball and fouled it back. Day baseball tomorrow. Final game of the series, the final game of what's been a long homestand.
Only because of the 3 off days.
All right.
It's made it seem longer, but A's will not enjoy another off day until the All-Star break.
And now it's 0-2 to Donaldson.
And after seeing a lot of sliders from Garza tonight, Mary's just coming and throwing fastball. Does have a split finger fastball go along with a 204 seam fastball, slider.
Donaldson has walked, struck out, and hit a fly ball to center field. 2 pitch is right there on the outside corner. Strike 3 call. Perfectly placed right on the black.
And maybe just looking for a little bit too much, and all Gregg is doing said, here it is. Just challenge with the fastballs.
So 2 outs for Jaso. Jaso 0 for 3. First pitch is high. Kevin Gregg's been all over the place. Started with the Angels, Marlins, Cubs, Blue Jays, Orioles, and now back with the Cubs. So the last couple of years he's been with the Orioles.
So Mr. Johnson showed up, and Kevin Gregg wasn't needed anymore.
You know, it's kind of interesting though, Ray, as I named off all those teams, but his picture in the media guide, he's got a Dodger hat on.
Maybe he got to pick his cap like going in the Hall of Fame.
Maybe he was, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about that one.
Well, let's how about a good walk from John Jaso, and there's the walk, and now a 2-run home run by Josh Reddick, getting him forward. Have a tie game with 2 outs in the 9th inning. Well, I know what you're going to say. Reddick get on, and then a 3-run home run to win it.
Got fireworks to see.
That's right.
So Garza walked 3. The A's have now received 4 walks, and here's Reddick. A's will always take you right down to the wire.
Like it.
Reddick is 0 for 2. He's flied out to left field twice. First pitch, runner goes, throw to second base is way high. So Jaso takes second base. He'll get a steal. A lot of times catcher won't even throw. He'll just let the runner take it.
Biggest indifference, but
he get a stolen base there.
Well, they weren't holding him on. Look where the first base of Rizzo's playing, and it is surprising, maybe because Castro was close enough to second that Navarro could throw anyway. But that's a pretty good sized jump, and because the throw did go, he gets a stolen base. Jaso does.
Timeout called by the catcher Navarro. So 1-0 to Reddick. And a fastball outside, 2-0.
And you've said that a few times tonight. Fastball outside to the power hitters, and saw it with Garza, and now with Gray.
There's your on-deck hitter, Sogard. And Reddick got one to hit. A fastball that was on the inner half, and he had a nice swing. Watch the location.
You know, it's a controlled swing. He's not coming out of his shoes. And maybe at a time when you can cheat, load up a little bit earlier and come out of the shoes in a situation where a pitcher might throw you a fastball down the middle.
And that one on the outside corner for a strike. So it's 2-2.
Well, Larry Vanover. I guess good enough for him.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out. So Greg strikes out a couple in the ninth inning. He gets the save. Garza gets the win. Cologne takes the loss, and the Cubs even up this series at a game apiece as they win game 2 of the series. So good pitching tonight, but Garza was just a touch better than Bartolo Colon. Final score tonight: the Chicago Cubs 3 and the Oakland A's 1. So the A's now 49-36, still have a half-game lead in the West. You've been watching A's baseball on Comcast Sportsnet California. Don't go away. A's postgame live with Scott